What's up, Captains? Welcome back to the Other Decks. My name's Casual Dobo, and today I am joined by a special guest, Seneth from the One Piece TCG Discord group. How's it going, Seneth?
I'm okay. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So thank you for joining me on this. For those of you who don't know, yesterday or whenever we had this tournament, because time is sometimes funny like that, but we had a tournament called the Super Rookie Royale tournament hosted by the One Piece Card Game.dev team, and you actually came in first place with your deck, and I was just wondering, what was the decision to go into the tournament with the deck that you chose?
One of the reasons it was because due unfortunately work, I couldn't really test really much. Zoro was one of the first deck I played because I like Zoro. It was really, I think, strong character. So I was trying to build some deck, try to find a few things, and I found myself like 2 days before the when you need to send the deck list. I was like, okay, what am I gonna play? I wanted to do something with Kid, but it was requiring a bit more work. I was like, well, okay, you know what? Let's bring Zoro. I put some cards to see how it could fit, and just send it the deck list. That's pretty much. I mean, mostly because I didn't have time to test because of work.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it seems like it turned out all right because you ended up getting first place in the whole thing. How was that experience?
It was actually incredible because, I mean, seeing the meta was with a lot of Kaido. People were playing a lot of Kaido, a lot of Crocodile, a lot of Odins. It seems like, and also when during the preview of the tournament, they show the ratio of what people brought to the tournament. There was only few Zoro, which was really surprised for me. And I was like, okay. So my idea was just to go really all in. I wanted to play very aggressive and make sure that those decks that they rely to be very slow, they won't stand a chance. If I'm finding a blue, it won't get any value on, would bounce me back anything. So that was the core idea of the deck.
Very nice. So yeah, let's actually check out what you created and talk about the individual cards, and then after that we'll go into the matchups that you faced in the tournament in particular.
All right. Basically, I mean, Zoro leader. Then I play 4 Nami because it's really good Nami because every time I can make a play with any card, it's easy to use her effect to give 1 down to Zoro and always pop up the effect of Zoro. Then also 4 Nami for Searcher to look for any throw-out cards. It's really good to find Sabot if you need it, Jet Pistol if you need it, Diable Jambe if you need it, or any other card, or the Zoro itself. I played Gordon in the beginning, even now that the list is a bit changed. It's just because it's a 2000 counter, which I need to save most of my unit and survive. And also, if I'm desperate, it can cycle some card in my hand, and it can also, with a Zoro effect on 1 down, swing the leader for 5. Sanji obviously is a 2000 counter, but is also really strong because with Zoro leader is a 8000 cost too, with his effect. I never end up to losing so many life, so drawing with him, it was actually many times was really good. And a 2000 counter. Brook, 2000 counter only for that. Uta, most of the effect for me is taking back a 2000 counter or taking back the Zoro. Nico Robin, I think it's a really good card, is a 1000 counter and you can get rid of many chip blockers or many engines, so I think so she's really good. Sanji in Zoro deck is a 7000 rush cost 4, so that's really good, and that's one of the reasons why I'm playing. Zoro is literally a cost 3 cost 6,000 in this deck, so extremely good. Shanks, many people were surprised I was playing Shanks instead of Luffy. The reason behind Shanks is most of the time I was texting, I never had the time to actually play Luffy because yes, you could play Luffy, you could swing, but Luffy in the next turn, it was gone. It was just 6,000, it would never stand very long. Zoro and I get the name, Shanks, is actually was a big stick that you go in there, you swing for later, but the next turn is there. So if you play at the right moment, it was really hard for deal for most of the deck. And don't even be able to chip blocking, it was actually really make the difference. And it also was my answer for Kid. For the 8 cost Kid. It was my answer, which it was in some matchups where I was controlling a bit more. It was my answer to Kid. Gom Gom Redok, full pair, it's good, killing some units, protect my characters and everything. Sabaudi, most of my unit are Straw Hat, I won't find Zoro, I want to find Nami. show them as well. That's basically the event I was playing. Sabad is really good. Mostly with Sabad, I'm searching for Zoro, and I was searching for the Nami, or some Desperate, I was searching for some 2000 counter like Brook Sanji. Jet Pistol, remove maybe some very annoying unit, Yamato, or maybe anything really heavy blocker if they play too many, and all this kind of situation. So that was really nice. And Diable Jumbo. When I play Diable Jumbo, people say, why he played Diable Jumbo? I mean, that was doing testing with one of my friends that I'm testing to, Vampok. He's a fellow Anta player on our community. And he was telling me, why don't play Diable Jumbo? You got a lot of SWAT unit that they're attacking. And actually, Diable Jumbo has been very useful. In this meta right now, a lot of people playing so many blockers, like a tons amount of blockers. And you look at some point, they were like, well, I don't think so I care, because I can literally give 9 down to my Zoro if you're 0 life and attack with Diable Jumbo for a 14,000. I actually won a game with Sanji. Using his effect, give him some dummy, was 11,000 unblockable with Diable Jumbo.
Wow.
So Diable Jumbo is actually did it things.
Yeah.
So thanks for him.
That's pretty incredible, because I remember when the starter decks just came out and we knew nothing about the set. I remember distinctly thinking Diable Jambe kind of sucks, and I was like, who would ever use this? And now that the set has come out, and now that we've seen a couple of deck lists, right? I think you're right. I think so many people are playing. It's such a blocker heavy meta that we're playing in, that Diable Jambe is incredible. I mean, I still wouldn't go past 2 copies of it, right? But I think 2 copies of it in any red deck is kind of vital, to be honest.
Yeah, because you got a lot of SWAT unit, and again, you got a unit like the Zoro, I mean, especially the Zoro leader, is a 6,000, and this Sanji can swing for a lot. I mean, we're talking about an 8,000. If he's in unit, they haven't killed the turn before. It's an 8,000 that swing very easily. And that's all the Sanji, the Rush Sanji, also so many units that can go. And your leader itself is a straw out. He can attack. So, all another game I just won because you had my opponent 0 life. I gave 9 down to Zoro, Diable Jumbo. There's nothing I can do. They can have all the blockers they want. They can't just do anything. And well, it's also trigger. So even if I won, I can still kill a cost 3 or less blocker.
Yeah.
That it happened.
Yeah, no, for sure. The other interesting thing, and you pointed out too, is the decision between Shanks and Luffy. And we sort of talked about it on Twitter a little bit, and I'm not sure if you agree with it or not, but I do think that the best value of some of these high-costed characters, like Shanks, like Mihawk, like the Character Kid, the 8-cost, is that it's not necessarily their ability, right? Their abilities are pretty good. But it's the fact that, one, they're not really targetable by most of the other event cards, and like they're pretty high powered. So as you said, like with Luffy, yeah, you can rush in and attack, but at next turn, if it goes to a next turn, it's kind of KO'd. Whereas the Shanks, it has staying power.
No, it's absolutely right. That's the things. That's what Shanks does. It has to be played in the right moment. If you make the way that you can play Shanks, sometimes you just want to use Shanks as well to kill unit, to make sure that unit is KO'd, controlling the board between your leader and Shanks, leave the opponent without maybe nothing to kill you the next turn. And the next turn you go a free 10k swinging without the need of any dawn. And that is very hard to deal for the opponent because, as you said, there is nothing you can do with Shanks. There is nothing. It's true, it's not searchable like Luffy, yes, but many times I find out myself that you're having a point that you cannot use Luffy. Yes, you can use the Factum to like go, I mean, ignore all the blockers, but you have Diable Jumbo for that.
For sure.
So, you know, so that's the things. That's why also in the new updated version of the list, I do not have the Gordon, but I do have the Otama to help Shanks and also be able to KO Kid with the Jet Pistol. So the new version actually have Otama instead of Gordon.
That is interesting, and it's not a bad trade either, just because Otama, I believe, is also a counter plus 2,000.
Yes, it is.
So that's pretty good. I will say, or ask, how often did you see the Shanks come up in your matches?
So because I'm running only 2 copy, And statistically, it's very tough. I'm gonna see him with Sabaudi or with Nami.
Right.
You might want to see a copy, but you're not going to see many. And most of the time, you already saw 10 or 15 cards of your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So it's likely you might draw Shanks or he's in the life.
Gotcha.
I mean, the reason why now I also put the Thomas at the Gordon is because I want to have an extra out for Kid or for certain reason when Shanks maybe not be enough. Likely in the tournament, people were playing Kid, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They were still not really heavily on the Kid, so I guess I'll be lucky as well. But it's not like, oh my god, I need Shanks.
Right.
It's a good thing that if you got him and you're like happy, you can have Shanks. Or for many reasons, even if they let you discard something, you can also, okay, I'm discarding Shanks, or you need a big stick. So it's a card that if you go in the end, you're happy with that. If you not see him, you're not gonna be like, oh my god, I'm losing.
Right. For sure. No, that makes a lot of sense.
No, with Luffy, you find out most of the time that you're there, you're like, okay, I need to play Lucy. I need to give him 2 Dawn to go over the blocker. So it will already cost me 7. And the next turn, if I don't do nothing, next turn is pretty much dead.
Mm-hmm.
So over time, I'm like, I don't know. The new list, though, I tried to put the Luffy to try always work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I brought.
For sure. But no, I think this is a very incredible deck. Obviously, it's mono red. It's a Zoro deck, and so it is very aggressive. I mean, Zoro's ability is Dawn ×1. You know, give everything plus 1,000, which is kind of wild. And so, yeah, I am curious to hear about the matchups that you faced in the tournament, and I guess more specifically, did you face any of the blue, purple, some of the more control-y decks on your way?
I actually did. My first round was against another fellow we play most often, Suave, and he was playing King as well.
Mm-hmm.
He actually was a King player too, and that was when there was still a best of 3 before they switched to best of 1 and then best of 3 for the final. And that game, it went 1-2-0. Unfortunately, I think he wasn't really lucky with the ramp and everything, because the things I noticed with the King is that if he stays behind a lot with the Dawn to do his effect, he's not able to catch up a lot with Zoro.
Right.
So what's happening is we were playing that matchup. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't control very much. When I'm starting to play a lot of Zoro, using Uta, take back Zoro, and that was the game when I ended up with the Sanji 9000, Diable Jambe. He couldn't really do much because that's how it was. And then round 2, I faced, if I remember correctly, round 2, he was our Odin deck. It was our Odin deck. That was when we switched to best of 1, and that game was the first time I using Zoro against Odin, but that was really mono country Odin without Kid, without anything. And unfortunately, that deck, I think so, it wasn't fast enough or control enough for Zoro.
Right.
So that was really very short match. We'd end up with swinging with everything, removing Yamato with the jet pistol, and all the blockers was gone as well very easily with Robin and Red Hawk. So that's unfortunately because it was really one of country Odin without any other extra deck card. The third match was a blue-purple Kaido, and that one I thought was actually being very, very hard for me because they got a lot of tools for killing unit. That match he started with some Peronas. He was fixing his hand and tried to make all this card. What I noticed as well, the problem with some blue-purple Kaido is that they didn't have a lot of counters on the unit. They relied a lot on the vent.
Gotcha.
And to killing units. So what they was trying to do is killing my unit, but my deck list is running 12 2000 counters. So sometimes it was trying to make the cheap kill or something with the leader, and then I was countering, then it was trying to kill something else, and I was countering. That was making him very behind. Not make me able to kill any unit. So with a really high aggression, I made it. He tried then to play a lot of blockers between like purple blockers, blue blockers. Then I was having Diable Jambe in end, and that's another game where I played Diable Jambe and just won because of Diable Jambe.
Yeah.
He was having like 4 or 5 blockers, but when he saw Diable Jambe, it's like, okay, he won. Because unfortunately for him, nobody was expecting Diable Jambe. That definitely was a key. Probably more people now will expect Diable Jambe.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then
I will say real quick that it is interesting because I never really thought about it, but the event heavy decks like the blue purples, right? They do require Dawn to use them, obviously, but that also means that they typically have less Dawn to power up their characters. Versus, if you've ever seen a green deck, you'll see like a leader kid get piled on with 11 Dawn. I know that's not like a real statistic, but no, so they come in just barely over the top to attack your leader, and so the plus 2,000 counters actually become incredibly important in those matchups.
absolutely, I mean, that's plus 2000 is a lot. And nevertheless, I mean, also if you don't need any other than Nami, because you really have the also counter as well, roll many these, and it was really easy. And when they cannot kill your unit, that's when they start to be behind, because as you said, they can invest so many Dawn. Same things like if you play the Shanks in those matchups, they invest in so much to kill the Shanks. The barrier maybe arriving to the 11,000, then you play a counter and they're gone. So that is where I found it was some of the problem, when they're remaining very behind of Dawn. They cannot resist that pressure. The match after was against another Odin deck, another green one, and this one was playing Kit. The match, but unfortunately he started with Momonosuke, but then unfortunately for him, I think so he went really slow. Again, I started very well with Nami, Sabaudi into Nami. It's just make my plays, already start the aggression. And we arrived at a point when he was having only few cards in hand. He tried to play the kid. I was having the Shanks, which was an 11,000, and didn't have enough to unfortunately save his head.
Yeah.
That was making him go for game. If it was best of 3, I would have won that one. I don't know. I just found out recently these days with the testing that it can create a problem, kid. That's why I started to put the Otama to have a way to kill it, because it can create problem to Zoro. But that specific moment, he didn't, because it was started pretty bad early game. He had to use a lot of resource. Then he didn't have nothing left really. And another thing actually in green, it's, if I can say it, green doesn't play most of the green a lot of heavy blockers. Some of them they play low, but most of the Odin green doesn't play really low. So the only blocker they go is Killer and Capone, and both of them they can block Shanks.
Yeah,
so
you are.
Shanks will go directly to Kid.
You are speaking exactly to how my Odin deck runs, and yeah, I did notice that. I mean, that is a problem, and honestly, yeah, there isn't too many like high-costed sort of blockers that at least I initially thought to put into the Odin deck, but also I just never would have expected Shanks, to be honest. So this is
exactly.
It's Shanks is a good card. I underestimated it.
Exactly, it's an 11,000 because, and remember, you can give the 10th Dawn you can give to Zoro, but after your Shank is gonna be an 11,000, and after you can swing for a 6,000 also with Zoro, and that is if they didn't have a lot of to protect, so he's basically died. But that's the reason why as well now I switch also Gordon with Otama, because Otama also can help Shanks to put down the power certain blockers, maybe a 3,000 blockers or something, and Shanks can go over it. But that's, yeah, and the last round was against Craig. Very surprising, he was playing King too, and I was like, it's another King player then. They lied to us, there were 2 of them.
Yeah.
Very, very surprised to see another purple, both like monocolored. That match was a bit tough because I started very well. I did start very, very well to play all my cards and everything. But in the first 3 attacks I made to him, he was able to find 3 triggers. Some of them was even like 1 card he had in his deck wasn't the trigger. And at some point it was only like 8 Dawns. I was like, dude, he ramped so much. Yeah. I'm gonna be behind this. And I continued to do my game plan. Probably his mistake though, in the first game, he was super focused on try to kill every my unit to controlling, but without thinking, oh, but I'm slowly losing life. When he started to realize probably that, it was probably late, because I think at some point he realized that was like, I need to change the game plan. But then by then I played Shanks, so every unit was having 1 life, but was pretty much safe because he couldn't play any Rush Kaido, he wasn't having mana, because to try to recover my board, to try to make sure I wasn't going to win, he was way behind Dawn, so he couldn't use King effect, he couldn't use many other cards. So I was pretty much all the time in a safe spot because he always was beyond the Dawn level that most of his threat would never come, like Kings or anything. And that's when I won at the end, game 1. Game 2 is when pretty much the same. He went more aggressive, he didn't just try to control a bit thing, he's being very aggressive, he found a lot of trigger again. And that game probably he could have won. In the last turn, he made like a mistake in the last turn. I did as well when I played my Sanji, and basically there was a moment, there was a page 1 and an ulti. For some reason I killed the ulti instead of page 1 and I played Sanji. That was one of my misplay. And the last turn he made a misplay as well when he attacked wrongly with the unit. And that's unfortunately, I'm sorry for him, but I mean, it's happening. We play a tournament. Everyone make mistakes. Definitely could have been to game 3 that game. It's happening. First I'll say like me, I'm sorry for Craig, but it's happening. Definitely next time, those things I think so. Those mistakes can make you think like, oh wow, that's probably for the next turn. It's like when in the beginning, all of us was playing the unit and then attacking the road deck and see our unit get killed by jet pistol. It was like, oh, maybe I should have played after. You're learning.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's one of the, and he in my conversation with him yesterday, he mentioned the same thing, that there were maybe some potential misplays. But I think the beautiful thing about being able to play in the Japanese meta, and all these people like Orange Swim and the One Piece card game.dev team creating tournaments like this is it's essentially practice, and it's trying to learn how game flow and sequencing and all of that is going to be in the game. Because I think the more comfortable you are with your deck and kind of all the different scenarios of what can happen, when to attack into leader versus when to attack into characters, right? I think all of that's super important, and that's really only something that you develop in practice and also just in real tournament life.
Look, absolutely, but even only when I need to use my counter, when I have to save my unit. Sometimes people think like, oh, I'm not gonna save this unit because I saw sometimes people make a mistake like, I got my unit there, they attack me the unit, oh, I'm not gonna use the counter because anyway it's gonna die by the next character attack. Well, that next character attack on your unit is not on your face. So most of the time I was saving unit because people tried to kill me Zoro. And after I used some counter, they did it, nothing went to my face. And all my other characters were alive. So, sometimes you need to think about using, it's very like, the skill of the game is also that. I mean, really be sure with your resource. This deck particularly as well is mostly very play on the Dawn. I mean, how many Dawn assign and how many Dawn you keep open. You need to calculate how many attacks I can give it. And that's the whole skill of the game. As I said, you're learning by play tournament, by losing tournament, by making mistake. That's how it is.
For sure. And so to sort of wrap up our conversations, I wanted to ask, now that you have a first place winning Zoro deck, what do you think are its greatest strengths, and then also what do you think are its greatest weaknesses?
Well, the greatest strength of the game is that I think is the consistency. I have the 4 Nami first of all. He was helping me all the time to fix my hand, all the time to find the Zoro. I find all the time an early aggression. I go a card like Kuta that can take anything on my deck. That definitely was the strongest. Also, I could play multiple units in one turn because I really have low Q. So overall, the explosion of the deck and the solution I was having, that's probably what makes it stronger. And that every unit in this deck is a threat to Zoro power. The weakness for this deck is definitely that if you cannot make an early aggression, you're gonna be really behind, and it's gonna be tough for you if you cannot make an early aggression. As I said, a heavy red green deck will love maybe where you cannot really kill many of the units, so they can do all the shamble thing. And like the hit cascade, they are a problem to this deck. So that's why, as I said again, I took off the Gordon and I put the Otama to have a bit more play around. and that's basically one of the things. But and definitely that's one of the things to the problem with this deck is that if you cannot make an early aggression, you're gonna be behind. It's an aggro deck.
Mm-hmm.
People won't like it because it's aggro. I know people doesn't like aggro players. They like aggro, but I mean, if the meta is very slow, guys, you can play aggro if you don't want a 50-minute match. In fact, my best of 3 was finished in 30 minutes.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, not because of Suave. Don't get me wrong. For him, it's just like aggros like this, or you win or you lose it very very fast. So. That's always work. But definitely, I think there's like a deck with a potential. In my opinion, it can be tweaked. It can add the Luffy depending on the meta, increase the Diable Jambe. It can be tweaked around. But the core set of the deck is literally that. And hopefully people now see Diable Jambe and Shanks in another light.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely think that, first of all, I will say, we love an aggro deck here, first of all. So, aggro decks welcome at the Other Decks YouTube channel. But I think you're right. I think what you've showcased here is definitely some of the cards that we might have underestimated upon first glance. I think really working well if it has the right sort of support around it to do so, right? And I think honestly that's a very beautiful thing to have in a card game, right? Is that there might be some cards that seem bad on paper upon first glance, but if the pilot can find a way to incorporate them into a system that works, into a deck into a deck that works, right? Anything is playable. It's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's when you see a genius idea from a deck builder. They're like, wow, I never thought about that. Wow. So that's why I want really to give credit to Vampok, because I never thought I was a garbage that card. And he said, why you don't play? I was like, exactly, why I don't? That's one of the things that, like, someone just give you the things like, wow, you know what, it's actually right. And that's also like really the community. I mean, I love what all of you guys you do and everyone else doing to make this game known, because I think this game has got the potential to be successful because it's fun, it's really skilled, and guys, it's One Piece. I mean, one of the biggest brand in the world. So so thanks to you guys as well. I mean, I really appreciate this interview and everything. I really love it. I'm actually very embarrassed as well. I can never done certain things, so thank you so much.
You've done absolutely well, both in the tournament and in this interview. So, well done, and thank you for agreeing to come on and talk about your deck. This is really fantastic, and it's just really good to see sort of the variety of things that can win in the first set. So Seneth, to wrap it up, do you have any shout outs or any other things that you want to mention before we head out?
Well, as I just said, I want to thank Suave, I want to thank Vampok, all the people that I'm testing with, I want to all the people that helped me with the TTS mod, and the community overall. I mean, all of you guys are amazing, and nevertheless, Thoran's Dream, the One Piece card game that made the tournament, so of course we have to thank him as well.
For sure, absolutely. Thank you again, and then thank you all for watching this video. Really appreciate it, and captains, remember, build what you like, play what you love. And I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one.